It's 4 weeks before your biggest launch. You're counting on a specific shipment. You've planned around it. Your marketing is already scheduled. You email your manufacturer for an update, and you get back a polite, professional message that says, "You've had to relocate. We've had to reallocate your production slot due to higher priority orders. We can schedule for 6 weeks from now." 6 weeks, that's your launch, and that's your cash flow. That's your team's work for the last 3 months. And you know what? It didn't have to happen. Not because the manufacturer was wrong to prioritize other orders, they have a business to run, but because you were on the wrong side of the priority list. And that position being deprioritized by your own supplier was built over months of treating that relationship like a transaction. That's mistake 11, and it's one of the most preventable mistakes in this entire series. Welcome back to Supply Chain Moves. I'm Lara, your host, and we are deep into season 1, 12 supply chain mistakes you start with revenue. We're on mistake number 11 today. Two left in the season after this, and this one, treating suppliers as vendors, not partners, might be the one that costs you the most invisibly because it doesn't hurt you today. It hurts you exactly when you can least afford it. Now, let's get into it. Here's the truth about supplier relationships that the supply chain would mostly fails to tell early stage founders. Your supplier has other clients, probably a lot of them. Some of them are ordering 10x what you're ordering. Some of them have been working with this supplier for 5 years. Some of them are paying faster, communicating more clearly, and showing up as genuinely good partners. And when that supplier has a production constraint or a material shortage or a bottleneck of any kind, they're going to take care of those clients first. Not because they're being unfair to you, because business. So the question isn't, are suppliers prioritizing better clients? They are. The question is, are you a priority client? At 0 to 500K, you probably aren't yet. Your volume isn't there. Your purchase orders might be inconsistent. You might be going back and forth on specs, and you might be slow to pay. And here's the really hard truth. Even if none of that's true, you might still be treated as a transaction because that's how you're showing up. The transactional mindset says, I give you a PO, you give me a product, that's the relationship. The partnership mindset said, I am an invested stakeholder in your ability to serve me well, and I'm going to behave accordingly. That shift changes everything, and it costs you almost nothing to make. Let me define this mistake precisely because I want you to be able to catch yourself doing it. Treating your supplier as a vendor means interacting with them only when you need something. It means your communication is purely transactional. PO in, invoice out, shipment update. It means you don't know anything about their production calendar, their business pressures, or what makes them want to show up for your brand. It means you're reactive, not relational. Treating your supplier as a partner means investing in relationship the way you'd invest in any important business relationship with consistency, transparency, respect, and genuine curiosity about what they need to serve you well. And here's why founders make the better mistake almost universally. One is capacity. You're running everything. Supplier relationship building feels like a luxury you don't have time for. Two, mindset. You were taught to negotiate hard with suppliers. Keep them at arm's length. Don't get too comfortable. Maintain leverage. This advice exists for large enterprise procurement teams with a lot of volume. It does not apply to an early stage DTC brand. Three, discomfort. Building a real relationship with a manufacturer or 3PL or freight forwarder feels awkward. You don't know what to say beyond the transactional stuff. And so you don't say anything else. All of this is understandable, and all of it is something you can change starting today. Let me walk you through how this compounds because it's the slow burn mistake. You won't feel it for 6, 12, maybe 18 months, and then you'll feel it all at once. First, priority. I already touched on this, but it bears going deeper. When your supplier has constraints, and they always have constraints, eventually, whether it's raw material shortages, production capacity, labor issues, anything, they make choices. And those choices are based on relationships. Who pays on time, who communicates proactively, who they actually like working with, who has shown them loyalty. That's the priority queue. And if you have been purely transactional, you are at the back of it. Second, negotiating power. Here's something the negotiate hard crowd doesn't tell you. The best deals don't come from aggressive negotiation. They come from relationship capital. A supplier who genuinely likes working with you will tell you when a raw material option is available that could cut your costs. They'll give you a heads up when pricing is about to change. They'll work with you on payment terms during a cash crunch. None of that happens for transactional clients. Third, quality and responsiveness. Manufacturers have discretionary effort, just like anyone. When something goes slightly wrong, a small quality issue, a spec ambiguity, a minor delay, a supplier who views you as a partner will work to fix it fast, quietly and without turning it into an invoice dispute. A supplier who views you as just another PO will escalate it to their standard process, which is slow and annoying. Fourth, intelligence. Your suppliers often have things before you do. Market shifts, raw material availability, industry trends, regulatory changes. Partners share that information. Vendors don't. At 500K to 1 million, when these relationships start to really matter, the transactional founder is scrambling. The relational founder has a network that's working for them. I want to give you two sides of this because I've seen both. First, the hard lesson. A brand I worked with had been sourcing from the same factory in Vietnam for about 2 years, apparel brand doing around 300K. They communicated with the factory almost exclusively through email, only when they had an order to place or a question about shipping. That was the relationship. Then COVID happened, and the factory, like many at that time, had to make hard decisions about which orders to prioritize. Given raw materials constraint, this brand got pushed 6 weeks. Their spring launch was Torpedo. They had 40K in influencer content already produced for a product that arrived 2 months late. The founder called me in panic. And when we looked at the situation, the honest assessment was there were three other brands at that factory who had strong relationship with the owner. They visited the factory, they sent Chinese New Year messages, they referred other brands, and they got through the crunch first. Now, the flip side. A founder I worked with, also early stage, maybe 150K when we started working together, made a decision early on to treat their manufacturer like a business partner. They scheduled quarterly check-in calls even when they had no orders pending. They asked the factory owner what was going well and what was hard in their business. They paid invoices early when they could. They sent a small gift during manufacturer's biggest cultural day. 2 years later, that founder is at 800K, and that factory has given them preferential capacity, introduced them to two other supplier relationships, and proactively flagged a tariff change that saved them from a nasty cost surprise. The relationship has generated real, tangible business value, and it started with showing up like a human being, not a surprise order. So, how do you actually build supplier partnerships when you're small and you don't have a lot of leverage yet? Here's the move at your stage, and none of this is complicated. One, communicate proactively. Don't wait until you have a problem or an order. Send a quarterly update, even just an email that shares how the brand is doing, what your plans are, and when you expect to place the next order. That gives your supplier visibility into your business. They love visibility. It helps them plan. Two, pay on time. I know this sounds basic, but chronically late payment is one of the fastest ways to become low priority clients. If you're going to be late, tell them in advance. Communication about late payment is infinitely better than silence, followed by the late payment. Three, acknowledge their expertise. Your manufacturers or suppliers know things you don't. When they suggest a different approach on a spec or flag a potential issue on your design or recommend a material substitution, actually engage with that. Thank them, consider it. They are not just order takers, they are experts in their domain. Four, build in a relationship touchpoint that has nothing to do with business. For international suppliers, especially know their major holidays, send a message, acknowledge the occasion. This costs literally 5 minutes and builds more goodwill than most founders ever generate. 5, make them feel like your growth is their growth. At your stage, you can't offer them the volume of your future self yet, but you can give them the narrative. Tell them where you're headed, tell them what you're excited about, tell them what you want them with you when you get there. That means something to a small factory owner who is choosing between investing in your production slot or someone else's. Here's your permission slip. You can ignore the advice to keep suppliers at arm's length and always be negotiating. That's enterprise procurement advice. You're not enterprise. You are a founder who's building something, and the human on the other side of your supply chain can be one of your biggest advantages or one of your biggest vulnerabilities, depending entirely on how you treat the relationship. Building a supplier partnership doesn't mean you cannot negotiate, it means you negotiate within a relationship that makes the other side want to work with you. That's a big difference. We have one mistake left in season 1. Next week, Omar is bringing you mistake number 12, copying bigger brands people. And it is a great one to close the season on because we all do it. And the sooner you stop, the faster you grow. If this season has been useful, and I really hope it has, the Accelerator program is where we go deep in all 12 of these with frameworks and templates and real implementation support. Check out the free videos on YouTube if you want a taste first. Both links are in the show notes. And if you've got a supplier relationship story, a win, a horror story, oh, this is exactly me moment, come share it in the Circle community. I am genuinely there. I read every day. I'm Lara. One more mistake to go. I'll see you next week.